Here I am taking this class and they're making me learn about databases. I don't even understand what's going on, and I really don't care. Well, maybe if you understood a little bit more, you would care. So let's take a couple of minutes and look at databases and why you would want to learn them. What is a database? Well, it's just a collection of information. Think about a recipe box or an address book or the inventory in the warehouse or the clothing on the rack or the screws in the hardware store or maybe the teacher's grade book. These are all examples of a database. It's just information that's tracked, organized and tracked. And why would I need to learn about a database? Well, all companies now work off databases. You probably wouldn't use Access, but you'll use something. Maybe you use QuickBooks to do your checkbook or to track your business. There are lots and lots of databases. When you go to the college and look up which classes you want to take on that screen, that's a database. Once you learn the idea of any database, the skills and procedures would be consistent, just a different interface. It will look different. I mean, if you learn how to drive a car, you can get in a truck, you can get in a minivan, you could get in a bus. You might have to practice a little, but you know what to expect and where to see it. Let's go look at an online example of a database. Here we are at Land's End. Say I need to get my husband a new shirt. So, well, I'll go to men's, and I could either click there, but I'll come down into categories, and we're going to get him a dress shirt. When we look on the left-hand column here, let me zoom in for you, you'll see that we're in the category of men's dress shirts. And now we get some choices. So let's choose, regular. Did you see how it clicked? Oh, wait, let me unclick it and let me show you this. You see up here at the top, right now there are 77 items that match. Okay, watch now what happens. So we're taking regular size and tailored fit. You see how the screen refreshes itself? No iron. Okay, now what do we have? Look at, now we're down to 13 items. We could choose some more of these choices. And even once we've chosen all of those, we still have to go to the shirt and choose a color and choose a size and choose an arm length. Well, this is just a database, and what you're doing is asking the database of information to give you an answer. You are querying the database, asking for information. So let's look at the features of a database. What does it have? A car has a steering wheel and a brake and an accelerator. We expect all those things. Windshield wipers. Well, a database is organized around a table. The table holds raw information. Looks like a spreadsheet. I'll show you in a second. And each table is named for what it represents. It's a noun, like students or women's shirts or grades. I see that I should have shut off my email, huh? Many related tables make up a whole database. So women's shirts, women's pants, women's footwear, women's swimwear. When you put all of those together, you get a database. And here we have the way to ask a question of the database. You don't need all that information, you only need some. So we query the database. Query is used in British English as question, but we don't use that word here. We use the word question. But in database language, we write a query. The query will extract or get from the database certain information. And how to display it? You have two choices. One would be on the screen, which would be a form, and one would be on paper, which would be a report. That's the only difference between them. So let's look at an example. Here's how an Access database looks. I said to you, the interface, the way they look for you to use may be different, but they are all the same thing. So an Access database will have tables. In this example, we have two tables, a customer table and a sales rep table. And as you can see, these tables look like an Excel spreadsheet, don't they? Rows and columns. And the columns have information about a sales rep, last name, first name, street. And the rows have information about one of those, all of Pat Jones, for example. The columns are called fields and the rows are called records. Now let's go down and look at the query. The query is where you ask questions of the database and get the information you need. And so you just take those field names from the top and you put them down into this box. You use this grid in Access. That's how you do it. At the Land's End site, we use that column on the left with the check boxes. It's the same thing, just go in a different direction. And that's how we write a query. And then I have here an example of a form. It's not a very big form, but it's a form. Shows up on the screen. And a report. That would be to be printed on paper. They may look a little different, but they have the same information. So you're going to say to me now, why is it that I need to learn about this? Well, no matter what job you have, you will be interacting with the database some way. Even if you don't use the database specifically, like you still have to check in when you go into work, and when you stamp the time clock, it still puts the information in a database. Everything works off databases nowadays. And if you understand the basics of any one database, like Access, then you'll be able to take that expectation and apply it to any new database you may have to use at your work to look up whatever information you need. You'll be querying the most. That's the most that you'll use a database for. And then you may make some forms of reports. And some people will design the database. Most people won't. They'll just use the database. So if you keep that idea in mind as you're studying, that you're learning this to learn the basic ideas, and then you can apply it to your own job when you're working.